I work at ISIPE by Innovate Africa. We are so happy and privileged to be co-hosting this breakout session with Professor Joachim von Braun and Heike from the University of Bonn, and all of you, our partners from India, from South Africa, from Ghana, Burundi, Costa Rica, all over. So we are very privileged and happy about that. So today we are going to discuss the question of biomass in the bioeconomy, looking at availability, competing uses, barriers, and what recommendations we need to make. As we all know, biomass is critical for the bioeconomy. So in Africa here, we usually say we have a lot of biomass, but actually we've not quantified it. And sometimes when we get into investments, then we realize that, oh, there's actually a challenge with our biomass. So that's what we are going to interrogate in this workshop. For those of you who may be joining us online and or who have not been part of our planning, the workshop is based on well-researched papers by the experts who are in the room. And so we are going to have a kind of semi-academic, semi-policy kind of discussion. And at the end of this workshop, we hope to build this as a group or a working group of some kind to take forward this question and keep, building on this and asking research questions that we can collaborate on. So it's now my honor and privilege to introduce our mentor and somebody who is well known in the field of bioeconomy. We always say one of the grandfathers of bioeconomy, and that is none other than Professor Joachim von Braun, to come and give us a few remarks, and then we start. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much, Julius. Congratulations to you and the colleagues which have engaged in these studies. In my opinion, this is one of the most important topics which the Bioeconomy Summit needs to address and to follow up on. Clarifying the availability and the enhancement of biomass and putting it to the right use. I would like to make 3 brief remarks. I refer to a study by the Malabo-Montpellier panel on African agriculture and food systems that has focused on bioeconomy in Africa a year ago. And it made 4 key suggestions to focus on gateway sectors that are compatible with food system development and food security, to focus on gateway sectors of the bioeconomy. And those included the following proposals: focus on clean cooking fuels, reduction of plastic pollution by changing that part of the system, very important for the vegetable growing areas in Africa. Third, focus on the construction sector, biomass in the construction sector, and on biopharmaceuticals. So I recall these 4 areas of attention, which we called gateway sectors, gateways into the bioeconomy. They are all 4 aligned and alignable with the food security opportunities and needs. My second remark is we should not only discuss the change of use of existing biomass in Africa, but we should discuss and invest in innovation and science on growing new and more biomass. So it's not only a zero-sum game doing different things with the existing biomass, but grow more and grow different bioeconomy, relevant biomass. For instance, in forestry and in agroforestry. Those two sectors are critical. The studies that are ongoing on potentials of agroforestry in Africa and elsewhere, I think are very noteworthy, both from a climate perspective, but also from an agriculture, food, and a biomass perspective. I believe we have tomorrow the Director General of the Agroforestry Center in a plenary. My third remark is we should not only talk about biomass, but about bioclass. So not just more of masses, but changing the features of biomass characteristics that, for instance, are usable and can enhance the construction sector. So what is in the biomass matters, not only the tonnage. And we haven't paid enough attention to that. Genomics and wood-related processing improvements matter for bioclass. So those are my 3 points: gateway sectors, not zero-sum game, but change of use and grow. And third, bioclass in order to move forward. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Joachim, for those introductory remarks. Now let me introduce my co-moderator, who will take us through the next session, and that is Dr. Heike Baumüller. Welcome. Give her a round of applause as she comes. Heike also is with the University of Bonn, Center for Development Studies. So welcome to take over the next session.
And I will just stay here because we have a big panel today of people from a truly global panel from Asia, Latin America, and Africa. And we will hear some of the results from the research that we've been doing on availability and competition for biomass. And we felt that there was a need, as Julius was saying, to actually generate some numbers that we can then base our discussions on. So we have short presentations from each of the country representatives to talk a little bit about the results from their country, and then afterwards we'll have a panel discussions where we can then engage with everyone here in the room to analyze the results, find commonalities and differences, and maybe draw some lessons. So we will start with Burundi, as you can see already. Professor Solomon Nzambimana from the University of Burundi, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. I tried to speak English, but my English is poor. I speak French, but I will try. It is a pleasure to share with you the situation of biomass in bioeconomy in Burundi. Burundi is a small country. There is a potential on biomass and bioeconomy, and there are many uses of biomass, and I will try to give a summary of those uses and to tell what are the challenge to develop the use of biomass in bioeconomy. As an introduction, I can say that to use biomass in Burundi affect environment. And there are two reasons to explain why we can active the biomass in bioeconomy. The first one is that in Burundi, the wood is the principal source of energy for cooking. About 95% use the wood. So to use the biomass energy affect the increased deforestation. The second reason is that is low level of access on electricity, about 10%. So for Burundi, it is important to develop a national strategy of bioeconomy in order to implement the national vision for emergence in 2040, because 50% of those objectives are very linked with bioeconomy and biomass. So, as production, biomass is from urban waste, from peat and bagasse, like sugarcane waste. There are also the residue of agriculture. And when we analyze the competing use, biomass is used in energy production, like the briquette from peat, and the ecological briquette from agriculture waste or cross-lines or biomass. It is also the bagasse in our company for production of sugar, which use bagasse to produce electricity in 60 months. In the industrializations, there are 3 industries which use the biomass. The first one is the industry of tea, which use more wood. The second is the industry for sugar, and there is other industry, another industry which called foamy for the fertilizer in agriculture to produce fertilizer. In agriculture, the biomass is like the agroforestry, banana plantation, and that is the most used. There are also the product from palm. Others utilizations are some product of palm to support the trade for some categories like youth and ladies in some associations. So they use the biomass to product income, and by transformation of the waste, they contribute to reduce the emission water from principal in the residential houses. I would like to share some case of success in the transformation biomass and the users. There are two examples from youth, whom they transform the waste, and the objective is to get income and to contribute to protection of environment. The first is the Kazi Green Economy catch about the product and process. That company has three products. The first is the ecological alternative for the use of the wood by ecological briquettes. The second is also the ecological alternative to use the wood and the chocolate of wood by transform the residues of agriculture and household solid and organic waste. Another one is to produce ecological by how do you tell in English? La transformation des déchets métalliques. C'est ce qu'on appelle les foyers améliorés. When we analyze the product from 2020 and 2023, we see that the production is increasing, and the job created are also increased. On the other side, we see that those products contribute to environmental protections. The waste scraps are 500, and the forest cover saved are about 300, and they contribute also in a reduction of emission, in which the residence is the most source of the emission of carbon. The second success case is Green Power Corporation. It is for production and marketing of briquettes, like the first, as an alternative to use the wood and the other products from wood. We see that that company has two types of briquettes, and when you see the evolution from 2020 to 2023, we see that the quantity sold are increasing and the annual sales are increasing. So the use of biomass is a source of revenue, a source of income, and it is very important for the young people, because those two companies are from young people in some association, and they do their best, but there are many challenges, like we'll see after. There are some barriers to use biomass, because the cost is very big and is one of barrier. The cost of production and for installation of equipment, like for to use biomass. The second, in agriculture, the first barrier is the absence of the national strategy on bioeconomy, because those initiatives are individually, but there are not a strategy on the national level to implement, to develop those initiatives in bioeconomy. On the side of social and cultural, there are not barriers, but some of those products are not known in the community. It is for some people in the cities, the cities like Bujumbura, but in the village, in the rural city, they are not known, but in the rural community, they use a lot of food, and they affect the level of deforestation. As conclusion, I can say that efficient use of biomass requires a synergy of action by the sector, the public sector, the private, and the development partners to develop the solution of about the problem of equipment, technology, and access of finance. As a challenge, it is also important because the success of ecological transition requires also the coordinate action at every link on the biomass value chain, from production to the use of biomass products. But there are some challenges. The first is to the elaboration of the national strategy on bioeconomy in order to coordinate those initiatives and those activities. The second challenge is the research and development on briquettes and the briquette in order to have an alternative of the use of the wood. Another challenge is the mobilization of the finance for those associations of young people, and the public company, Onatur, which produce peas with a weak technology. Another challenge is to support those two cases of success case. And the last, I can say that it will be better to have a framework for dissemination of the biomass utilization product, because they are not very known in Burundi. Thank you very much. Sorry with my English.
Thank you so much for all these interesting insights. Maybe just to our other presenters, since we have quite a few people here now, let's maybe we can try and stick to the 5 minutes, and then I think in the discussion there'll be lots of time to elaborate on different issues. We are shifting continents now, so we're moving to Latin America, to Colombia. We have Dr. Juan Martinez, who is a bioeconomy specialist at the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Juan Martinez. I'm from Colombia, and I'm a specialist in science, technology, and innovation at the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture. Well, we are going to talk about biomass in Costa Rica. In context, Costa Rica is a small country in Central America. Its population is around 5.2 million people. According to the World Bank classification, it's an upper middle income country. It's member of the OECD since 2021, and is one of the most biodiverse countries around the world. The main export products are medical devices, banana, coffee, pineapples, and of course, different agricultural products. About biomass demand and supply in Costa Rica, in 2023, Costa Rica major agriculture value chains, including coffee, oil palm, bananas, pineapples, and sugarcane, produce significant amounts of biomass, with residues often exceeding half of the harvest outputs. We can see here most of the agricultural biomass than the livestock. Well, that changed. In A, we have the number of studies, the scientific publication addressing the competitive use of biomass from the selector sector from the last 6 years. Scientific production in Costa Rica bioeconomy, especially related to agriculture value chains, remains, as you can see, low, emphasizing the need for more research to explore biomass residues opportunity, particularly beyond pineapple, which dominate current studies. Here we can see the current and prospective use. Current are the bioproducts that are now in the market. And prospective are all these bioproducts that are in research and development. So biomass applications are primarily concentrated in energy and fuel production, with 15 current use identified other sectors like food, environmental, pharmaceutical, and green chemistry. About policy issues, we have 6 topics here. First, the regulatory framework. Costa Rica was the first country in Latin America to have a national bioeconomy strategy, but also they have a circular economy strategy and a decarbonization plan. There is a good relation between the public-private collaboration and research and innovation support. There are many institutions that are doing that. One important thing is the international cooperation, because there is a good engagement with regional and global institutions that are putting this topic in the agenda. Also, the sustainable development policy and market integration. Here, there is a good opportunity in emerging biomarkets, for example, in biofuels and bioinputs. There are some emerging research questions. For example, what are the key infrastructure gaps that prevent large-scale biomass valorization in Costa Rica? Also, how can governance and public-private partnership be improved to support sustainable bioeconomic growth? And very important, what is the potential for utilizing biomass derived from biodiversity to generate bioproducts in a country that is very rich in biological diversity? So we have some future recommendations. First, enhance infrastructure. 2, promote financial incentive. 3, enhance governance and coordination. 4, expand research and innovation. And of course, promote education about bioeconomy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, you can. All right, we're moving back to Africa, to Ghana this time. We will be hearing from Professor Wisdom Akpalu, the Dean of the School of Research and Graduate Studies at the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration.
Thank you very much. Okay, good afternoon. So I'm from Ghana. I'm an economist, unlike the others who are scientists, because we're talking about a bioeconomy. I'm a resource economist. Yes, so as you can see, Ghana is a typical African country, developing country, with a population of almost 35 million people, but then a very low per capita income of just slightly above $2,000. And we export cocoa and a lot of other natural resources. And as you can see, in terms of biomass, we have we have arable land, which is about close to 15 million hectares. Then there is forest cover of about 80,000 square kilometers. And in fact, for the last century, about 85% of the forest has been degraded. So we have about 15%. And then, you know, from the predictions, by the year 2050, if we are not careful, all the forests will be gone. Then we also have water resources, which is the ocean and some freshwater resources. Then we generate a lot of solid waste, municipal solid waste. So in terms of agriculture, as I said, we grow a lot of food crops. We also grow fish, which is aquaculture, mostly tilapia and then catfish. We generate a lot of crop residues, and then we also cultivate crops that could be used as feedstock for energy production, especially biodiesel and bioethanol. So I'll just take this. Sorry, I think there's some delay. So this is just to show you some statistics, quickly show some statistics of, for example, crop residue that is generated in Ghana. And as you can see, the maize stock happens to be the biggest in terms of biomass, in terms of volume. And then you have all the others there. Yeah. So then we also have, in terms of the heat values of crops, the crop residue that are shown, as you can see, we have some significant values, especially coming from maize and others. Yeah, so in terms of energy crops, as I indicated, we have the potential to generate, you know, grow crops of bioethanol, maize, sugarcane, sorghum, and cassava, as we heard from the plenary session. And also we have the potential to generate biodiesel from crops such as jatropha, oil palm, coconut, etc. So all these crops are grown in Ghana. For example, there is a company that is, an initiative, which is Ghana Oil Palm Development Company, which is able to produce about 2.5 megawatts of power from the residues from oil palm. So this is a potential that could be harnessed. Then in terms of forest, we use a lot of biomass fuel. In fact, about 70% of Ghanaian households cook with wood fuel. And firewood and charcoal constitute about 38% of fuel that energy fuel that we use in Ghana. And as you can see, this is quite significant. So in terms of wood fuel consumption, we have about 52.8 million tons in 2022. So then we also, the country also has potential for non-timber forest biomass. And here we are talking about medicinal plants. Ghana has about 3,000 species of plants in the tropical rainforest that can generate so much revenue. And then about 60 to 70% of Ghanaians depend on herbal medicine for their primary healthcare provision. So this is also something that we generate from our biomass. Then, yeah, so in terms of our wood fuel consumption, you can see from the graph that this has been increasing over time. And then also the charcoal consumption has also been increasing over time. So the question here is, how do we improve efficiency in the use of this wood fuel or wood and wood residue, wood fuel and wood fuel residues? And in terms of medicinal plants, as you can see, Ghana has potential to generate some substantial amount of revenue from export of our plants. And then in terms of municipal solid waste, Ghana generates a significant amount of municipal solid waste. In fact, about 16,000 tons daily, which means that each individual generates almost about half a kilogram of waste a day. So this creates a significant potential. Right now, every year we experience flooding due to the inappropriate ways by which waste is disposed, clogging all the gutters and causing a lot of flooding in Accra. And there are initiatives to convert this to energy. In terms of marine, Ghana depends so much on fisheries. Ghana is a fishing nation. We are able to obtain about $1 billion a year from our fisheries. But then over time, a lot of people are into small-scale fishing. Over time, fish stocks are declining, the fisheries are overcapitalized, and revenues have declined over 40% by 40% over the last 10 years. So now there is we are encouraging other uses of the ocean in terms of exploring other biomasses, seaweeds, for example, harvesting of seaweeds, and then cultivating of seaweeds. And we believe that that can generate significant amount of revenue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next we'll hear from India, from Dr. Sulakshana Rao and Dr. Ritika Yuneya from the Indian Council for Research on International Economic Relations.
Good evening to all. My name is Ritika Juneja, and I'm here today with my colleague Sulakshana Rao, and we are working with Professor Ashok Gulati at Indian Council for Research on International Economic Relation. It's a policy think tank based in New Delhi, India, and we are happy to present our paper on India's bioeconomy, growth, innovations, and sustainability. We also would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to the organizer for the kind invitation. So we'll start the presentation by discussing the conceptual framework of bioeconomy and India's growth trajectory so far. So India's bioeconomy, the bioeconomy concept is an economic system that uses renewable biological resources to produce food, material, energy, while reducing the environmental impacts. The innovations driving bioeconomy include bioplastics, bio-based chemicals, biofuels, biomass, genetic engineering, and biotechnology. So basically, it is aligned with the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. Goal 2, zero hunger. Goal 3, good health and well-being. Goal 7, affordable and clean energy. Goal 12, responsible consumption and production. And Goal 13, climate action. But as rightly pointed out by Professor Joachim in the initial session today's morning, that it is time to reboot the Sustainable Development Goals and integrate bioeconomy in it. So globally, several countries have included bioeconomy concept in their strategies towards energy production and agriculture biomass. Now, where India has made the mark and how India is progressing on the path of bioeconomy. So this graph basically shows the size of India's bioeconomy. And I would like all of you to note here that in 2014, the size of bioeconomy in India was $10 billion, while it is $151 billion in 2023, and it is now projected to reach $300 billion by 2030. This shows India's vision towards bioeconomy and how it is progressing towards it. Now, if we see the sectoral analysis, it shows that bioindustry is a major sector contributing to the bioeconomy with approximately 48% share in 2023, followed by biopharma, 36%, then bioagri comes, and then bio IT and research services. Now, I would like to here focus more on bioagri and how it is contributing to biomass. So there are several initiatives that Indian government has taken recently and over the years. First one is Bio-E3 policy, which is biotechnology for economy, environment, and employment. And there are 6 pillars that includes in this policy, which is bio-based chemicals, smart proteins, precision biotherapeutics, climate resilient agriculture, carbon capture and utilization, and futuristic marine and space research. Next is ethanol blended petrol program, where India envisions to achieve 20% ethanol blending with petrol by 2025. My colleague Sulakshana will discuss more about this policy in the coming slides with an interesting case study. Then comes net zero carbon economy, which is which India is aiming to achieve through carbon sequestration, biomass, and industrial biotechnology. Now, when we talk about biomass, agriculture comes at the center stage, and it is more important to discuss with respect to India because India has to balance between not just availability, but also affordability, accessibility of food for the large population, while committing to its use in the biomass production. Next is the Lifestyle for Environment campaign, where government is trying to sensitize people towards planet's health and develop a pro-planet people and transform them from use and dispose to a more circular-based economy. I would request Sulakshana to take over from here and discuss more about availability of biomass, then its challenges and policy implications. Thank you.
Thank you, Ritika, and good evening all. So, continuing with the presentation, here we have tried and attempted to estimate what is the agricultural biomass. So there are different sectors in India's bioeconomy, but we have focused on the crop biomass and what is the potential of this particular crop biomass. And we are focused mostly on major cereals, sugarcane, rice, and maize, which generate the most amount of biomass that is there. So India is largely an agricultural sector is too huge, and it employs around 46% of our population and contributes to 18% of our GDP. So this again generates a huge amount of biomass, especially the crop biomass, as studied by Venkatraman in 2021 and Carden in 2015, who said around 696 million metric tons, especially from cereals, is generated in India. In similar lines, we also tried to estimate what is the production forecasted and what is the biomass that will be generated and which will be available in surplus for our bioeconomy, and how can we integrate that, what technologies we would require. So based on Niti Aayog projections of production of these major cereals and major crops, and based on Venkatraman's estimates, around 38% of sugarcane biomass is available as surplus for bioeconomy. Similarly, in case of maize and rice, 30% can be utilized or is available as surplus, and cotton, it is 45%. And based on this, we have currently around 600 million metric tons of biomass which is available, and around in 2047, which marks 100th years of our independence, we'll have around 850 million metric tons of biomass which is generated and can be utilized for bioeconomy applications as well. So another interesting aspect about the surpluses, we can see that in case of maize and rice, it's just 30%. But if we increase the yield of commodities like maize, we'll have around 5% additional, five-fold increase in the biomass that is produced. So in terms of livestock and poultry biomass, given the large number of livestock that is there in the country, we have around 1,100 million metric tons of biomass which is available, and out of that, 330 to 440 million metric ton is available for biogas production. But currently our biogas production is 62 million tons of production. So that explains the immense scope of manures that are available and the surplus availability. Now, moving on to the forecast for 2030 and beyond for major sectors, especially the bioethanol industry, India is the third largest producer and the consumer of ethanol, and 13.8 billion liters production capacity has been achieved in 2023. We have a successful case of ethanol blended petrol program, which we'll be discussing, and is expected to grow at 7.5% annual growth rate. And the target of 20% by 2025 is set by the government. Similarly, in case of biomedical sector, which is the second largest in bioeconomy, Ayurveda sector is where the agriculture has a major role, especially the turmeric commodities, the geographically indicated commodities like lacadong turmeric, which has higher curcumin content, has been on higher demand globally due post the COVID, and that reflects the immense potential this particular crop has. Similarly, in biofertilizers, we have different government initiatives that support organic farming and are promoting bioeconomy applications. In terms of biopackaging, different packaging, especially the banana fibers, are used for packaging materials, and there is immense potential for increasing that as well. In terms of agroforestry, in regions, especially Haryana, Punjab, the western region, wherein the crop residue burning is a major issue, this agroforestry aspect of intercropping popular trees for timber and other purpose, along with the traditional crops, is gaining importance and is on the rise. Now, I'll just give you a brief glance about the ethanol blending program in India. The transformative potential of this from food giver to an energy giver is immense, and the government has set ambitious target of 20% blending, and based on this, we have saved around 200 million tons of carbon from 2014 to 2021, and we have already met the goal of 15% blending in this current year, which is a great accomplishment. And a different feedstock, including the FCI go down, damaged rice, and molasses and sugarcane bagasse has been used for this particular aspect. But if you notice, you can see that this is mostly from the food grains, and that is again another aspect which we have to take care, and the Indian policy makers will have to walk through a tight rope in order to balance the food security and the bioeconomy goals of 2030. And for this, based on that, we have figured out 4 different tailored strategies. One is targeted approach to bioeconomy expansion, wherein surplus areas could be used for bioeconomy productions, and which areas which are less fertile can be used without foregoing the food security aspects. Second is incentivizing bio-based production transformation through crop diversification, guaranteed market access, and then circular economy practices, especially reducing, reusing, and recycling in agriculture, fertilizers, and all that. And finally, the smallholders, who are a major part of our country, they have to be builded, capacity builded in order to produce and to come up with enterprises that are profitable. So 3 I's about the institutional support, the incentives, and also the innovations are very critical for India. And with this, I would wind up with few of the emerging questions, which we would all like to take your inputs as well to continue this study. As I told, this is just a beginning, and we would like to work on this further. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. And this lineup wouldn't be complete without a presentation from Kenya, of course. We will hear from a representative from ISIPE, from Dr. Abru Zeduf, who is with the Social Science and Impact Assessment Group at ISIPE.
Thank you very much, Heike. Do you have a pointer? Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me at the back? Oh, okay, excellent. So my name is Zodu. I'm an Ethiopian national, but I work and live here in Nairobi. So today, in this presentation, I have 3 slides. So I hope I will pass a few important policy relevant information to you. I think for any important, when we talk of bioeconomy, the first question we need to answer is how much is the biomass supply we have. This is like the first one question that we need to answer. So I was trying to explore the literature in Kenya. This is what I found. So in this slide, I have 2 messages. One, biomass supply is unknown with certainty in Kenya. So I brought three estimations here in the three pictures you see. The first one is done by the World Bank. I would say it's the most conservative estimate we have. The second one is by the United Nations Environment Program. This one is a bit on the higher side. And the third one is by University of Professors. I think it was done by Dulo and his colleagues in 2022. So even though we don't know the biomass supply with certainty, all the three studies clearly shows that Kenya has a big biomass supply. That's the key message we get. And this biomass supply has a huge economic potential, and I want to discuss this in the next slide. Of course, we have high biomass supply in Kenya, but its valorization is quite small. When it is also valorized, often the valorization method is a kind of low value addition, such as the use of mulch, compost, and in some cases they are used for animal feed. The most common valorization method you will find in the existing literature is composting. So different enterprises use it, especially the urban biosis for valorization. But most of the bio waste or the biomass available in Kenya are wasted. For example, if you see it from the top right graph, most of the bio-wastes are discarded. They are not used for any useful purpose. That's where the bioeconomy policy issues we are discussing in the today and tomorrow comes to utilize it. And one thing which is a vibrant sector I want to explain, I want to bring to your attention is insect farming. So since recently, Kenyan entrepreneurs and of course international entrepreneurs as well, they are valorizing wastes, biomass supply in Kenya using insect farming. So the bottom right graph shows if we completely use the urban biowastes of Kenya. For example, using insect farming, we can produce 1.59 million tons of fresh fertilizer per year. And we can also produce insect larvae, which is equivalent to, I think, 0.28 million tons of dried larvae per annum. So this is really a huge potential, but we are not using it. Most of the biowastes are still wasted. That's the most important message I want to pass in this slide. So what's the way forward? I think we don't know much about biowaste or overall biomass supply in Kenya. So we need a lot of quantification and studies on volume of waste, its origin, and its final destination. And we don't know also much about the profitable use of biowaste valorization techniques, because there are different techniques, including insect farming, incineration, for example, composting. We don't know the cost benefit. We don't have really clear information about the cost benefit analysis. So we need a lot of studies on this so that we can support the bioeconomic policy in Kenya. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We quickly move to Namibia. We are hearing from Dr. Mangala Nalisa, lecturer at the University of Namibia.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mangala Nalisa. I'm a lecturer at the University of Namibia, the Department of Microbiology, Biochemistry, and Biotechnology. But in my past life, I was doing policy consulting, and I was part of the team that led in the drafting of the Namibia Sustainable Bioeconomy Strategy. So that's why I'm here. So just to highlight a few issues, like I said, we drafted the Namibia Sustainable Bioeconomy Strategy. Sorry, I had preferred a laptop here because I can't really see, but it's fine, I'll try. Okay, all right, okay, all right, I'll use both, okay. Yeah, so maybe also you might have heard that we are one of 2 African countries with a bioeconomy strategy. So for a population of 3 million, I think that's a good thing. I hope we can get a hand clap for that. So, thank you. So strategies are not enough, policies in themselves are not enough, we need to implement. So today, because I was given 5 minutes and 5 slides, I'll focus on one area that I think we are winning at. So for the bioeconomy strategy, our vision is a vibrant bioeconomy that drives innovation, conservation, and sustainable utilization of biological resources. And then also, the mission is to promote and accelerate deployment of innovations and sustainable use of biological resources for growth and sustainable development in Namibia, which aligns with our national development plans and the SDGs. So we had set out in our planning of drafting the bioeconomy strategy, we brought together 24 entities which are in the area of agriculture, health, natural resource management, as well as issues related to research and development and other cross-cutting issues, because bioeconomy in our country cuts across a significant number of sectors. So our strategic focus areas in the bioeconomy strategy are agriculture, health, and agriculture, health, natural resource management, and cross-cutting issues such as research and development. So in terms of availability of biomass, like I said, because time is limited, we are focusing on what we refer to as bush biomass. So the Namibian agricultural sector contributes to 5% of GDP, and it's also the highest employer with 70% of the population, either directly or indirectly, and most of it is, the arable land is on communal land. And according to the Namibia bush biomass sector report of 2024, we have about 45 million hectares of land in Namibia that are bush encroach. So I know that other presenters have come and talked about competing uses, but you will see with this bush biomass, there's no competing, there's only complementary uses, because it's a product that was birthed out of a challenge of rangeland for agriculture. So because of history of burning in farmlands and decrease in herbivores that feed on bush biomass, we had a problem of bush encroacher. So then this problem became then an opportunity for us to harvest this bush biomass, and the potential is about 10 to 30 tons per hectare. So according to the MMP report, 650 farmers and SMEs have already been trained in this area, and about 11,000 jobs created. So maybe you might ask yourself what I'm talking about in terms of bush encroachment. It's different in every sector. Wow, this font is small. But basically, it's an invasion of invasion of bush woody biomass, which is not consumable in that state by cattle or any type of livestock within farming areas. So I think they'll provide this presentation and you might read that. So yeah, like I said, it was a problem. So as I said, it's not a competing issue with respect to this particular biomass. It's more complementary, and I'll demonstrate why. So the most advanced subsector for bush biomass production is charcoal production. We do have a certification model. Our producers are certified by the Forest Stewardship Council, which deals with sustainable harvesting of woody biomass, as well as how you treat your laborers. So this is certified charcoal that is exported to South Africa and Europe. So it's projected to grow over 4.2% in the next coming years. And then the second one, use of bush biomass, is energy production. We do have industries already using bush biomass. About 50,000 tons of wood chips are used for heat production. And also on the national level, our national power utility company called NamPower has already gone ahead and set up which will be ready in 2027, sorry. So it's already been approved and funded by the KfW Bank, and its capacity is 40 megawatts for just biomass power plant generated from bush biomass. And then another use for bush biomass is livestock feed. So it serves as a good alternative. You know, Namibia is a dry country, especially in drought times. But currently it requires more R&D because we do have information about the nutritional value of it, because for weight gain, it's good for cattle and sheep. But in terms of the value chain, it lacks production guidelines, so there's inconsistency in the production, and currently it has a high cost of production. And then there is biochar, which I'm sure everybody is familiar with. So this one in Namibia is manufactured in locally processed kilns. So these metal kilns are made in Namibia. And you know the uses is carbon sequestration and as soil fertilizer, and also in nutrients, to make nutrients more available in the soil. So we do have an association called the Namibia Biomass Industry Group, which incidentally, they are the ones who corrected me and said it's not competing, it's actually complementary. So they work with our local institution, the Namibia University of Science and Technology, and they are working towards building an internationally certified product of biochar so that we can compete with an international market. And I have to note here that because of this, it might become quite expensive to produce, and not many people might be able to participate, which is a challenge, right? Because of the requirements for testing and everything. So, yes, so some obstacles to biomass utilization, technical barriers. We found that the mechanics or the mechanical instruments, the vehicles and the equipment used are imported from other countries, and our wood is more hardy than the instruments are used, so there's a lot of wear and tear in the operational costs. And there are harvesters who produce with semi-mechanic and extraction methods, maybe using pangas machetes, but this is time-consuming, as you can imagine, and labor-intensive, despite its cost effectiveness. So we need to find new ways to harvest. So also, like I've already said, access to international markets with strict European biochar certifications, and also testing requirements for the quality of biochar. And then also infrastructure and investment is a challenge, as well as awareness and adoption. I have to admit also, before I did the stock taking, I didn't actually know that most of this was happening in our country. So awareness is a big challenge, which also leads to lack of adoption, especially, let's say, with communal farmers. And on the economic and regulatory challenges, we do have a regulation, as I've highlighted already, but there is historically, in the past, before independence, when we had apartheid, the commercial and the communal farming discrepancy, although 35% of the land is communal, there are more small-scale farmers on this land, and there are less farmers on the commercial farm. I mean, there has been land distribution policies, but currently Our Forestry Act requires communal farmers to only harvest for subsistence use, not economic use, whilst people on the commercial farm can actually apply for certification, permit, from the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, and harvest as they can, so for commercial purposes. So that means participation from the larger part of the population is not there, and it requires improvement. So then also, although we've created so many jobs in this sector, most of the jobs are semi-skilled and not highly skilled jobs. So with that, I thank you. I also wanted to just mention that the same Namibia Biomass Industry Group actually has programs where they support farmers and people who want to harvest through different types of services, advisory services, and also support like that through mechanisms. So I would like to thank the Namibia Bioeconomy Biomass Industry Group, the University of Namibia, and the NCRST, and also just like to thank also for inviting me to this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, you can tell that if you do research, you generate a lot of interesting findings that take a little bit more than the 5 minutes that we had allocated. It's often like that. We researchers like to talk about the things we do. We do actually have 2 more presentations, so now I'm challenging the last 2 presenters to be really quick, because I think our audience might humor us for going over a little bit, but not too much, because there's dinner coming up. So can I quickly call on South Africa? Dr. Ben Durham from the National Department of Science and Technology and Innovation.
Thank you for the honorary doctorate. Some people have introduced themselves as scientists or economists. I'm an administrator. That's it. So my colleague, Felicity Blakeway, actually did the work. I am then the person who came to the thing, so I'm just reporting on it. So the credit goes very largely to her. So looking at South Africa's bioeconomy, availability, competing uses, and obstacles. Where do I point this? There we go. So a first point to note is that our bioeconomy strategy focuses on the power of the technology to create useful and relevant products and to create jobs and livelihoods. Our focus was not on the environment. So we have not been gathering information on biomass. So like, I think it was Kenya that said there's a lack of data that we have. But nevertheless, we have several areas where we do have biomass potentially available. Primary production, 2.5% of GDP, and then the agro-processing takes that up to 12%. Agricultural residues, there's obviously a challenge in collecting things, particularly if they're not of high value, but possibly modular solutions for accessing some value from them would be possible. Our plantation forestry is quite well established, and it is a good source of biomass, and it is supporting various applications such as paper and pulp and cellulose and so on. Invasive alien plants is another source, also a collection challenge because it's dispersed, but socially this is desirable because government and society wants to remove alien invasives, but it is costly. Dedicated energy crops. We have sugarcane as a big industry in South Africa, but we have not, government has not yet set blending targets in the fuel, so there is no clear risk-defined pathway for that. So we do not yet have a blended biofuel, although the industry is ready should that develop. Algal biomass, this we are looking at quite intensively to try and find possibilities for extracting value from our biomass. There are small bits and pieces that are happening around our coast particularly, but also looking at freshwater applications. Animal waste, 130 million tons of cattle manure, and organic municipal waste, 18 to 30 million tons annually. So the key point that I'm saying is we do not collect this data yet. And one of the results, one of the outcomes of this presentation is we're realizing we need to have better data. Competing use for biomass. So something that's quite prevalent in Africa is that there is a strong cultural value associated with land. Where I grew up in Zimbabwe, but it is also to some extent in South Africa, a man's wealth is, or at least was, measured in the number of cattle he had, and the number of wives, and the number of children. So we're aware of this. You know, land is important because you need land for cattle to show that you are wealthy. So there's a very strong cultural association, and you can't just implement rational economic changes for the good of the society without making sure that you are not then affecting society. That's not really the point, but agricultural biomass is, we're in a semi-arid country. South Africa is a semi-arid country, and we only have about 10% of land which is agriculturally viable. And we have said that agricultural products may not be used for energy applications except through cogeneration because of the concern for food security. So there's a cabinet statement that says you shall not use agricultural goods for energy. You also need to be very careful about taking away the crop residues, because very often they are put back into the soil. If there's no till, they're part of that. And that keeps the soil better, more fertile, more active. The metabiome is more capable of dealing with drought and so on. So it really is important not to see this just as another cash opportunity, but think about the bigger picture. So food security, I have mentioned, bioenergy production, cogeneration of electricity and heat in the sugarcane area, and there is increasing demand for biomass, but obviously the competition with food security is important. Bio-based materials, bioplastic, biocomposites, and biochemicals, they are sustainable alternatives to fossil-based products, and they support the circular economy, and so therefore they have got a lot of appeal. But again, we have to be quite careful about how we do this, and we haven't done it yet. And then just to re-emphasize, other uses, traditional, cultural, ecotourism, or related uses are critically important. One of the things that I don't think anyone's mentioned is the 30 by 30 targets under the Conservation on Biological Diversity, which says you should set aside land for conservation. And this is another purpose that is competing for land use and so on. Tourism is obviously very important in Africa, in South Africa too. And the cultural use of crafting materials, indigenous knowledge related to African traditional medicine has been mentioned. It's very important in South Africa. Between 50 and 70% of our population also uses herbal medicines as their primary care. And we have a valorization process for that, which is looking then at the production of those plants that are associated with that. Okay, so I'm going to go through this very quickly, but noting that 21% of South Africans are food insecure. We're also a middle income country, but we have 21% food insecure. We have 33% unemployment, which I think is highest on the African continent. And so these kinds of challenges make it really difficult for the decisions about biomass use for higher value products. As I've mentioned, data fragmentation across the different sectors, and we don't have a good view of what is there. There is quite a bit of data, particularly in the commercial agricultural spaces, but we're not collecting it effectively yet. and has been mentioned by Joachim earlier at the start of this thing. Biomass quality is critical. If you're trying to extract particular goods, you need a consistent high quality feedstock for that, and if you vary it too much, you're going to obviously affect the performance. And we need to develop economic models for biomass markets, and that is still developing, and look at advanced economic models to understand how the various competing interests affect the thing. So going forward, we want to start looking at advanced remote sensing and satellite imagery as a way of estimating biomass, with obviously field data and ground truthing. We need to balance between the economy, between the society, and between the environmental uses of biomass. And this is highly political and quite a process to go through. But ultimately, we need to have a better idea of the biomass in order to promote a more sustainable and circular bioeconomy that will talk to both all of the social, economic, and environmental aspects. And I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And last but not least, our speaker from Uganda, Professor Michael Lubama, Department of Mechanical Engineering at the School of Engineering.
Thank you. I'm an engineer, so I'm very optimal with the way I use my time. So thank you for having me. I'm so delighted to be here. We were given 5 minutes, and I'll definitely use less. So I'm talking about biomass in the bioeconomy, availability, and competing users, focusing on Uganda. So Uganda derives its strategy from the East Africa Bioeconomy Strategy, and Uganda is currently investing significant resources and money on nanotechnology and on biotechnology, with the key goal of strengthening food security, enhance nutrition, improve health, and job security. So the focus of my review was specifically household wastes. And currently we generate 19 million tons of household wastes. So the idea is, how can we valorize these wastes? And the focus was on research that is currently being done in Uganda. And to do this, I developed a matrix that shows the landscape of research that is being done. And so when you look at the previous slide, it shows the major household wastes that are being produced. And so here I focus on those and show the current uses for banana wastes, rice husks, cassava peels, coffee husks, and maize cobs. So renewable energy is key. A lot of research is also being done on activated carbons for wastewater remediation. Some work is being done on packaging materials. A lot of work is being done on fiber reinforcement and bioplastics with University of Stuttgart. And there's also additional work that's being done developing advanced materials. So this is just a matrix that shows the current landscape. So what are the challenges? The challenges are these. There is a low degree of value addition for underutilized agricultural residues. But the second one is more pertinent, and that is, whereas we talk about the bioeconomy, for Africa and particularly for Uganda, very few studies have looked at the life cycle assessment. And this is really, really very, very important. If we are looking at the value chain analysis and we do not look at life cycle assessments, then most probably we will not achieve our goals. There is inadequate collaboration across East Africa. We collaborate more with Europe than among Uganda and Kenya. We need to see how we solve this. And in terms of policy implications, all the studies done in Uganda seem to suggest that financial subsidies are required for the bioeconomy to to kick off. Everyone has mentioned that we need to find a way of finding a balance between, yes, we have a bioeconomy, but we need to think about the food security as well. So in conclusion, the baseline for Uganda in terms of the bioeconomy is very strong. A lot of research is being done. There is a very strong shift in the government, and they are really focused on research in biotechnology and nanotechnology. They are funding this very strongly. However, beyond basic sciences to applied research, this is still inadequate. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much for living up to the expectations of the efficiency of engineers. Let's have a very quick, I hope that there are some questions in the room. Shall we have some quick fire questions to our speakers who I think can just remain seating? It's starting the informal part of the day. Are there any comments or questions?
Thank you. I'll try to be really quick. My name is Jacqueline Senyago. I work with the Stockholm Environment Institute Africa Center. My question goes to the presenter from Namibia. I was just wondering, why are you worried about the market in Europe, and you have 90% of the rural households using rudimentary forms of biomass? So I would like to understand what is the challenge really in using this biomass within the country. That is one. And just a quick comment, just from the presentations here, I was really impressed by the way we have advanced in getting data on biomass volume and sources of biomass, which was a struggle in the past. But I think we still lacking on the what is available, but what is the current use of what is available, and what is it suitable for, depending on the different regions we have in Africa. Thank you.
My name is Carol. I work with an organization called Resourced. My question is around nutrition security. When you think about the levels of malnutrition on the continent, it's staggering. And one of the applications for valorizing some of these waste streams that we're talking about is fermentation. And I know the India team talked about smart proteins. I'm curious to hear about whether smart proteins using fermentation technologies to create these new proteins that can help us meet some of those nutrition challenges. Are those discussions happening? I know in the US, I know in Europe, there are a lot of fermentation companies that are coming up, but curious to hear what's the discussion around that on the continent.
So I ask all the speakers to take notes, and we'll just quick fire our questions.
Hello, Patrick Barrett from Ireland. Just a point of information. We, in the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine, have recently funded a project. It's halfway through. It's called Inform Bio, and it's there's publications on undertaking bioresource mapping. We took the methodologies from Scotland and we've applied them in Ireland, and they may be useful for any groups here that are considering starting off. So the basis is bioresource mapping, then looking at technologies that could be aligned with the bioresources, then looking at modeling for an environment and climate perspective, and that's feeding into monitoring. So that's just a point of information. And my second question is, in the bioresource mapping, would there be potential to consider alignment with carbon farming? So carbon in the ground versus biomass harvested, and finding some balance, because maybe there's also going to be markets for leaving carbon in the ground. So just a thought for any feedback. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Anamika. I come from India, and I have two observations or questions, you can say. One is what is the percentage, or you can say what is the share of indigenous knowledge systems on the scenarios that have been given. And if there's a study which actually brings in the informal system, because they are not only the producers or users, they have been using, so all the world economy was bioeconomy at one time, right? So are there systematic studies which bring in those systems of production and economy into the more formal, channelized, or economic systems? Secondly, is we have a database of 1 million abandoned US patents which are free to use. So we don't always need to push frontiers, do research, find out new things. Oh, no, I need research grant. Yes, we all need funding. But what if it is not there? So can we make best use of whatever is available? This database, whoever is interested, it's open to all, and it is because they have been granted and abandoned. So granted, so they are useful. Abandoned, nobody was there to maintain with the fee. So can some of the researchers who are working on this, on the bioeconomy, look into the database, find out the useful trends, and also see this is also about how the industry is utilizing these research. So if something is, suppose more patents are being filed in biopharmaceuticals, then we know that the industry is looking for that. So maybe in the morning we had a session on education, so maybe our education systems they have to be aligned to what the industry is moving into. So I feel IPRs are also important in this discussion. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll have one last question, and the panelists can already think about which one they want to pick up. You don't have to answer all of them.
Good evening. My name is John. My question is to the speaker from Costa Rica. He talked about pineapples, and I think even in this country, that's Kenya, we have also the same product, that's pineapple, and 70% of this plant, it goes to waste. So I wanted to hear about the experiences in terms of the kind of products which they are getting from pineapples, and also the logistics of getting these products from the farmers to the biorefinery, and also the factories which are working on this plant. Thank you.
All right, while Costa Rica is thinking about the answer, any of the other panelists that would like to respond to the questions that were raised?
Hi, I would like to answer to the question raised by you on smart proteins. So there is a report by Good Food Institute India, and they have highlighted that over the last 4-5 years, across 113 startups have come forward, and they are researching and producing smart protein alternatives. So these are plant-based, fermentation-based and cultivated proteins, and 100+ companies are supporting its growth. So large companies like Tata and ITC are going to launch their own range of smart proteins, which will be available on e-commerce platforms. So India is moving towards that direction, and there is a huge scope because it not only just save resources, but also protects the environment. So yeah, India is working towards it. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, also in Kenya, we've started precision fermentation for nutritious supplements. So on Friday, we'll be visiting that company, so you're free to register and go and see what's happening.
No, the answer directed to Namibia about why European market. I mean, I think the simple answer is that once it's certified, it gets a premium. It's a premium brand, and it gets more money. So it's more of a business decision for, in the instance of charcoal producers, and also for the future market of biochar. So the only market within the bush biomass that's geared to local consumption seems to be the livestock feed production. That's the only one that doesn't seem to have that market-related aspect to it. So that's, yeah.
Thank you so much for the questions and suggestions. maybe I would like to focus on some of the issues raised by colleagues. So maybe I will start with the carbon farming issue you have raised. So we have a lot of biomass, and for example, the things we are doing in Kenya is valorizing wastes using insect farming. So insect farming, compared to other conventional methods of processing waste, insect farming has a lower greenhouse gas emission. So we have estimated that, and even the companies in Kenya, they are trying to register themselves to enter into the carbon credit market, the voluntary carbon credit market in the world. Bio-waste processing methods, especially insect farming, has a great potential in terms of contributing reduction in greenhouse gas emission, and maybe potentially entering into the voluntary carbon credit market across the world. That's the first issue I wanted to reflect. The second one is related to nutrition security. You are right. Nutrition security is very important. So I'm working on insect farming, so I will reflect my my thinking related to insect farming and its potential contribution to nutrition security. So from insect farming, you get 3 main products. The first one is the one I mentioned, the low greenhouse gas emission as a public good. That's something everyone gets. But in terms of commercial products, we get fresh fertilizer, which can be used for crop production, and the larvae can be used for chicken production, for example. It can be a feed supplement. So one of the key entry point for nutrition security, I think, is increasing larvae production and fresh production, because conventional inputs are very expensive this time. Maybe we can help farmers in this way. And related to this, we have a lot of project activities across Africa, I think across maybe East Africa, I would say. In terms of competing use of bio wastes, I think overall biomass, I completely agree with what Ben has said for the context of South Africa. So we don't know much. Still, we need a lot of data to understand how people use the existing biomasses across the continent, at least across the study countries. But most of the biomasses are discarded. I think we can definitely say at least 50% of the biomass are discarded this time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I think there was a question about indigenous knowledge. I think in the case of herbal medicine, I would say that a country like Ghana, where about 70% of the population depend on herbal medication or traditional medicine for as their primary healthcare needs. For many years, this was kind of ignored or looked down upon. But over time, there has been some improvement. People can go to the universities and study about these traditional herbal medications. And the government, since 2012, has found a way to also integrate this to the official healthcare system. So by so doing, it has been promoted. So it's creating jobs. And then you also regulate it. Unlike previously, where people can claim that a particular herb can cure so many diseases, now you have some research being done, so there is some form of regulation. But then to add that there is one other issue that I would like to, I think you made a point about cost-benefit analysis, and I think that is extremely important, because when you have resources and there are alternative uses of those resources, then we have to go further, not just producing them or using them for one thing or the other. We have to go further to find out what the opportunity costs are. What do you lose by using a biomass that could potentially satisfy one particular need for the other? If you export biochar and as a result of that, people go to use dirty fuel that give them health problems, how do you potentially value that? You may get money, but that money will be used to cure people, to cure or to provide healthcare for people. So I think in this discussion, one thing I would like to see more and more is how to incorporate cost-benefit analysis into some of these trade-off situations that we are discussing. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that question. The bioproducts generated from pineapple waste include bromelain, which is an enzyme, green chemistry products, packaging material, and textiles. Basically, that are the small market for that.
In the case of pineapple, talking about Costa Rica, we have had, I don't know, 2 or 3 huge challenges. The first one is to collect the residues from the land, because usually the producer mix the residues with the land. So we need to collect, we need to make the machine to collect the residues. The second is the scale, because we are talking about mountains of residues of pineapple, So this is the second one. And the third one is the technology to convert the residues in new bioproducts. And the new bioproducts, I don't know how to say bromeline, textiles, packaging. So that, yes, we have a little industry of new bioproducts from residues of pineapple.
All right, thank you. And Julius and we cleverly passed on the task of summarizing what we talked about to someone else today. So Hugo Chavarria Miranda, who we already heard now, you will have like a minute or two to just share some very short reflections on what you heard today, and so we don't stand much longer between
a minute, this is a lot of pressure. Okay, no, I don't know if I am the right person to do the conclusion, but at least 2 or 3 topics that I would like to share. The first one is that bioeconomy offers the possibility to increase the efficiency and the sustainability, not only in the production of the biomass, also in the valorization, in the use of the biomass. And this is so important for our countries. This is so important for Africa, America Latina, and some countries in Asia. Why? Because we produce tropical producers. In the tropical producer, the residues, the waste, represent around 50 or 60% of the total waste. So this is so important. And also because the circularity and the adding value offer us new possibility in the rural territories. So bioeconomy in tropical products is so important, so important in our case. My second reflection is about that in all the cases that you presented, we can find companies, organizations, or I don't know, that are using the residues to produce new bioproducts, bioenergy, biocosmetics, materials for construction, textiles, whatever. However, these are still isolated cases. Those are not the general reality. Those are only cases. So we represented cases. We still have a low utilization and aggregation of value of the available biomass. And the reflection number 3 is related that biomass is the central element in any bioeconomy strategy. In order to make the best decision, we need information. We need information about the biomass that we have, where it's located, how it's used, what is the size of this biomass, and we don't have this kind of data. We need metrics. We need metrics not only to measure the weight of the biomass, we need metrics to ensure the sustainability of the production of this biomass and the sustainability of the utilization of this biomass. This topic was so discussed in the G20, where is Spain? This topic was so discussed in the G20. We need metrics for the biomass that we are trying to use in the bioeconomy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was an excellent summary of some of the key points. So with that, on behalf of Bioinnovate Africa and the Center for Development Research at the University of Bonn, I'd like to thank all of our speakers. We'll continue working on these issues and all of the participants who stayed with us until this time. And I wish all of us a very good evening. And Cynthia has some housekeeping before we all go. But let's first take an opportunity to thank our speakers again.